Hello everybody, Anders here with another video. Today we are going to go over the Dosa release changes for Black Desert. These are not in the patch notes since Perlibus views the release patch as the base patch, if you will, for new classes. There are still changes from the Global Labs version, but we have to dig into the skills themselves on live, figure out what they've changed, what they are. Luckily, there weren't as many changes as I expected, so not a lot to break down. The skill preview is surprisingly still very relevant because of this, so I recommend you watch that video to get a sense of what the class can do and what is getting buffed with this patch. So first thing we see is a 7 to 14% damage increase in PvE, which is very good to see. PvP only had 2 skills that saw damage buffs, the rest remained the same, and a guard gauge shred effect was moved around. For the PvE damage, we can more visually see the difference with this chart here. It is a minor difference really, but I think it was needed compared to what we saw in Global Labs. Preview damage seemed very low, but from my experience, for whatever reason, Global Labs PvE damage is never 1-to-1 to our live server damage, despite trying to get as close to our stats on live as possible. On live servers, Dosa at the high end seems to be better than expected, but he saw a couple of nerfs to some key traits. The first nerf is to our HP recovery on hit. Dosa was able to heal 1600 health on hit from just the second attack of his Shift Q and Shift E skills. This has been nerfed by more than half to where he is only recovering 700 health on that second hit. That's a huge difference. The second major nerf is to his reset skill, Downpour. This is your F skill. On Global Labs, this skill would completely reset the cooldowns of all of your flow skills. The skills themselves are on low cooldowns, and the F skill is sometimes unable to be used without proccing the F flow skill, which is a separate skill, and maybe that was the reason they took it out. I'm not sure, but that's a big difference. So how is Dosa on live servers in Korea? Well, sadly, on Korean servers, my gear only really lets me test early game spots, leveling experience and such, so I can speak to that. In that sense, I think he is fine, though not a class I would say is easy to pick up if you have no experience with the game at all. Not that he is technically hard to play, actually I think he is extremely easy to play. Low APM class, though I've heard some say he is high APM like Ninja, in which case I completely disagree with that. Holding R&B to do 4 skills is not very Ninja-like. That's a matter of opinion though, so to each their own. Regardless, early on you were essentially grinding with your WF skill into WRMB into R&B flow chain, using spacebar to move around, and your other mobility skills in between. You can use Shift R&B, which is one of your quicker AoEs. That's pretty much all you need to grind and level to 60. You use Shift LMB for the 100% if you want as well, or you can absorb it. Absorbing is slightly faster. The 100% does look cool, one of the better looking ones for sure, but again, this is me just leveling the class and suggesting you do whatever you want to do. You can absorb the BSR or you can use a skill. Either way, you're fine. I do think that at the high end, when you're actually grinding at these high-end areas, using the 100% BSR itself may not be the best choice, but I'll know soon enough when the patch goes live in North America and Europe. I've also seen some opinions saying his mobility is absolutely terrible, and I really don't agree with that either. I wouldn't call it the best. Certainly he is no berserker, but he has a lot of forward movement flows and dashes that link with one another. His shift space skill moves you a long distance, which can position you awkwardly, but you can cancel it mid-animation if you want with LMB or RMB, not an issue there. His stamina use while linking these mobility skills is deceptively high at low areas, which is where I have some concern, but to be honest, it is not something to worry about too much. You're not going to be grinding these areas for long, and movement matters more for the pack-to-pack timing in higher end spots. That said, one area which Dosa is still lacking, and I'm not sure will improve, is the AoE of his skills. His flow skills have very narrow, almost conal AoE ranges, with his supposed large AoE skill animations only really doing damage in a small area compared to the animation effect. This is a problem in grind spots that have packs that are not tightly grouped together. Darkseeker's Retreat is okay, for example, but Tungrad Ruins might be a little bit more difficult to grind. His damage in light of his restrictive AoE may sometimes look weak, especially since we will compare Dosa to the best grinders out there. I myself am comparing him to Megu, and I found yes, Megu is faster and better, but Dosa wasn't that far behind, and this is from Global Labs testing, which again I want to emphasize, damage is not true to live server damage. We can probably see some bug fixes to Dosa this week in Global Labs, but I doubt we'll see more buffs into the following week. I do think he's going to get more changes for the better, depending on how he does in PvP as well, which is an area I haven't talked about really because on live I've had zero experience of PvP with him just yet, waiting for NA and EU for that. I think Dosa as a class should be getting better through the weeks. We are in a similar situation I think to Scholar when she released. It seems like Pearl Abyss doesn't want to release broken classes anymore. It seems like we're just doomed to have underpowered classes released to avoid having another Succession Megu situation where that class got nerfed almost every week after a month or so of being completely broken, and even now she's still very good after all those nerfs, just not the menace she used to be. Once I get some more testing done at higher end areas, I'll feel more comfortable doing a more typical combo and add-on guide for Dosa. Right now I think it's still too early to do one of those. I think he is a fun class. No, he is not the most broken class ever released, but I think it's worth trying out for a while, and if you don't like his Succession, we have his Awakening coming sometime in the near future, and let me know what you think that might look like. What kind of weapon do you think would complement his lore? That's it for this one. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I'll leave you with a showcase of the 200% BSR skill for Dosa, which I neglected to include in the skill preview video. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.